My name is Yolanda Santoni. Um, my pronouns are she, her, and checking in here from Little Ferry, New Jersey. August 8th, I joined Brand Workers. Very happy to be part of Brand Workers and the work that the organization is doing. It's important that we share a little bit of the history just so that you can better understand who I am and why I dedicate my life to the movement. And I'll start back. I'll go back a little bit. Well, quite a bit. And it started. I guess I would say the moment that I woke, where I realized social differences and different social classes and how people, minorities, and immigrants were treated. Um, it came at a very early age. I am first generation born in New York City from Dominican parents who came to this country for a better life um, and to give their family the things that they couldn't have. But I also had the opportunity of going back and seeing the differences between living in the United States and the Dominican Republic. So as a child, my father's dream was always to, save money, rack up, and go back and, live in his country. And, that dream happened a few times. But in those trips, I was able to see the differences in social classes. We used to live in a very nice house, but just across the street, there were what you call, or what we call, los barrancones, the deep, like where poor people lived. And I was so intrigued. And I remember that I would go through the little trails and play with the kids. But I realized that they had, I saw them with their pants and holes, and they would walk around with no shoes. And it was like, it hurt me at a very early age. And I started bringing them over to my house. And little by little, I had 3, I had 4, I had 5 kids coming and playing with, in my backyard. And my brothers and sisters, they were like, "What are you doing? You have a bike, let's go bike riding, let's roller skate." And I was more interested in learning about, their the culture and their lives. And it was so sad to see the lack of opportunities. So I decided to start like a little school where I would teach English. I was 8 years old. And I thought that that would be helpful for them. That I was giving them some sort of tool and that could help them in their future. And then shortly after, about a year and a half that we were in the Dominican Republic, my father had spent all the money, did some bad businesses, and we all had to come back to the United States. That experience stayed with me. And also, coming back to the United States, I saw my parents struggle. My mother worked in factories. She would, like go from factory to factory. My father worked in a diner delivering food in Wall Street. And I just hear their constant complaints about, how, the low wages and the mistreatment and all the struggles. My parents didn't speak English, so I remember doing a lot of translating for my mother when she went to get assistance to help us because we were not doing well. And the way she was treated because she was an immigrant, she didn't speak the language. As I got older, I just started doing community organizing. I went into my local church and I just wanted to make a difference. Emily Brown was the director of organizing in 1199 New Jersey. So the SCIU, who is the International Union, had given um, funds to the local so that we can start organizing what at the time home care workers. Um, and there was this, I would say, organizing effort to organize over 15 of those agencies here in New Jersey. They represent nursing homes, healthcare workers. And that was a first effort to organize home care workers. Yeah, it was intense. I think it's one of the hardest things to do because home care workers don't work at one specific location. You have to chase them all over and try to find them. And it wasn't easy, but we were able to successfully organize 6 of those home care agencies. It was 2007, 2008. We're in the middle of a recession. And so I actually also met my husband, Alfredo Miase, in the movement. We're a very dynamic couple. So at the time, it got really difficult. We tried to find work, and it was so hard. The country was going through a really tough time. And so my husband and I decided to start our own community organization. So we are the founders of what is today Acción Jainera USA. And so what we did with the time that we had in between jobs was organize his community. Alfredo comes from Jaina San Cristobal, which is one of the most contaminated places in the world. And we decided to start advocating for that community here and just listening to the problems and the issues that were going on in the community. And we decided that we wanted to be a part of some of that change. Right now, it's been 5 years since we started our struggles for water, potable water for Jaina. And we have a very corrupt government in the Dominican Republic, and it's been quite a challenge. It's the airports campaign, and it's really connected to the Fight for 15 campaign. I was one of the first organizers to land in Newark Airport working with 32BJ, organizing over 1,200 subcontracted workers for the airlines. At the time, they were making the federal minimum wage, which was $7.25 an hour. You're working in an airport for these multi-million-dollar airlines, and you're making barely minimum wage. 1,200 workers in Newark. I also assisted in organizing JFK and LaGuardia, so a total of 10,000 workers. 6 of the biggest subcontractors that had all of the baggage handlers, the wheelchair agents, the cabin cleaners, and they were just work in a building where there was so much danger. You're in an airport, all sorts of things and kinds of things can happen there. And they were making miserable, low wages and organizing and educating these workers and bringing them to an understanding that the only way that we were going to make change was when they took collective action. Because I see these corporations as bullies. They take our labor, they exploit our people, they don't share the wealth, and it is so unfair, and it comes from a place of anger and frustration, and being able to give people the tools to understand that their power lies in collective effort and that they can actually see that this works for me is like my life's journey. The injustice, the unfairness, and I don't see myself doing anything else until I move on to the next life. The Port Authority had the power, or has the power, to mandate airlines better wages for their workers, or else they won't get the contract. And so we would bombard them with workers and workers' stories, We were all over the news, and finally, the Port Authority mandated that there had to be a wage increase in the airport for all workers, bringing them up to $19 an hour. It was challenging, but the amount of education and the amount of leaders that were able to surface and that are still part of the movement now and that are now rank and file members is amazing. But persistence and dedication and education helped organize those workers so that they can have what they have today. And it wasn't easy because I remember lots of days where, you know, I felt like giving up. But then there were the stories of the worker stories that kept me going, because it was like a single mother that couldn't afford to pay the rent or had to decide between eating today, um, noodles and no meat, or paying the phone or paying the light or getting shut off here. And just the struggle was so real that it kept me going. And I'm grateful for having been part of that and having helped change, you know, a little bit, you know, their working conditions. The struggle is still going on. They're fighting for health care now. And the fight never ends because these corporations don't willingly give you anything. It's always a fight. Being a Hispanic, dark skinned woman, a lot of disrespect from even management and even from white cis males that didn't think that I was educated enough, or that, who are you? They would ask me if I was a cleaner because of my, my demographics. And yeah, a lot of racism and prejudice even within the same organization. We had a big organizing team, and a lot of the organizers were primarily Hispanic, Black, minorities, because we were able to connect better with the workers because that was the demographics. But our coordinators and our directors were all white. So it was hard to move up the ladder, even though I never wanted to do anything else but organize workers and be on the ground. And then a lot of frustration because we would often ask, please come out in the field and see what's going on. And, we wanted to weigh in the campaign, and a lot of times that was overlooked. I think listening and being part of of a dialogue that allows us to express this. Um, Women in the movement, we go through a lot, and I think it's important for us to be able to have a space that we can share our experiences. A lot of times, we're not able to, or we keep them to ourselves because we think we're, strong and we need to keep. But I think it's important that there are spaces where we can share our experiences and people can hear, how much of this and how often these things happen. I would say to those that are in the movement that we need more spaces together, share our stories, to help each other, to learn from each other, um, and so that we can learn from our victories and our failures. And I think that's important because I think it is important, that we share our stories as, women in the movement. And I want to share a little bit of, my my experiences as a young child. And like I said, the moment that I feel like woke me. And this song was, my mother used to sing it to us because she was a revolutionary.